let me start this off by introducing David Josephson, our first speaker. David is Managing Director of the U.S. Export-Import Bank for the West Coast region. He's an expert of government-sponsored programs such as credit insurance, loan guarantees, and foreign value finance. Next, we have Martin Selander. Martin is Senior International Trade with the Small Business Administration for districts of Southern California, Nevada, Arizona, and Hawaii. He also brings a wealth of knowledge in government-sponsored programs, including working capital loan programs, as well as acquisition and equipment loan financing. Last but not least, we have Don Kurtz. Don is Vice President at City National Bank's International Banking Department. He's responsible for sales of trade products and services for existing and new clients. Don is also a very seasoned international banker. He has held a variety of management roles at both domestic and foreign banks, including Mitsubishi Bank, Westbank Banking Corporation, and Bancorp Bank. So, as we have heard throughout the morning, exports have contributed meaningfully to the growth of the U.S. economy. In this session, we are going to cover a variety of programs that are designed to help you small and medium-sized businesses to gain access to capital to support that growth. The same programs also serve as mitigants to help mitigate the various risks associated in selling overseas, and in turn, hopefully they will help you be more competitive in the global marketplace. So let me start with you, David. I often get this question, and that is that a lot of companies have experience exporting, but because the economy is going so well, or recently, at least for the past few years, their exports they envision their exports to grow double next year. So what kind of programs are available through Exim Bank to help companies support that growth?
Thank you. Hear me okay? Is this thing working? Yeah. Okay. Well, we have basically three things that we do for either U.S. exporters or foreign buyers. If credit or finance becomes an obstacle in closing a deal, credit, I mean just trade credit, typical commercial terms of 30, 60, 90 days. If that becomes an obstacle, or if finance, i.e. real money, is an obstacle or a challenge, the Exim Bank, having the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, can assist a company or a foreign buyer with either, we can either ensure the credit terms for the U.S. exporters so they don't have to run that risk but still provide the needed terms, or we can guarantee a loan to the U.S. exporter which will raise actual real money, in a pre-export in order to build and do their processes to export, or we can ensure or guarantee loans to the foreign buyer for either short-term or medium-term.
Great. David, what if I'm a distributor and I distribute medical devices and I buy from suppliers in Europe and I sell to my customers in Latin America and Asia? What kind of financing can I find through SBA, given that there's very little value add into these products that I am importing and essentially subsequently exporting?
Susana, good morning. Thank you for the question. And quickly, thanks to Mr. Valderrama and LA Chamber for inviting me, and also to my friends from the Commercial Service, which was fun to be here. Thanks, Richard. Susana, you in your opening remarks, you hit on a real key word. I like. You said risk mitigant, and both of the programs provided here from Exim Bank and SBA. Nothing can happen without the partnership of a lender providing the financing. We're on board to provide guarantee support to the lender to lower their risk so they can make the capital more available in the marketplace, hopefully on more reasonable terms to the exporters. To specifically address your question, one of the real key differences in our program, Small Business Administration versus Export-Import Bank, as Dave will attest. SBA, we do not have a restriction regarding U.S. content of the goods being exported. So a specific example you gave of a company that's importing importing to a degree, or importing raw materials, performing some kind of finished work, or manufacturing and then subsequently exporting that finished product. That's perfectly eligible for SBA export financing support. We don't have a specific minimum quantitative percentage threshold of content of the product. So as long though, however, that the product is exported from an American port, so certainly no drop shipping from a third country, but we can support a situation as you have described. No limit, no restriction.
No U.S. content.
Exactly, no content minimum.
Great. So Don, now we've heard about programs supported by EXIM, programs supported by SBA. Banks also have their own export financing programs. So I'm confused. Where do I start, and how does financial institutions work together with these government agencies to finance export growth?
Well, thank you, Susana. It's really interesting that oftentimes the banker is one of the last people that's thought about when you're thinking about exporting. We've got the government agencies that we've heard about today that are very supportive. They've got a lot of programs. And we talked about what the U.S. government can do, what our agencies, what David and Martin can do for us. And one of the things that is key, I think, for any exporter is to have a great banking partner. And not only is it the bank, but does that bank have the expertise, the experience, a dedicated international group that can help you? But is there a key individual or a team there at your bank that can help you? And you need to talk with that banker up front. You can't come into the bank at the last moment and say, I'm ready to export, I've got that purchase order, I need some money, or I need some assistance, or I need one of the international products like document reflections, letters of credit, or some working capital. So lay that groundwork. You talk to your CPAs, you talk to your accountants and your lawyers, but talk to your banker and bring him in as that role. And we work very closely with our partners here at Exim Bank and the SBA. Any of us can be approached. If you talk with the SBA, you're going to run across folks from the SBA, you're going to run across Martin. You talk with him, he's going to circle back and bring your banker into it. And the same with David. If you get a hold of David, David's going to bring your banker in. So make sure your banker is a partner with you in that export process.
And also, the funding actually happens from the banks, right?
Well, that's true. The money's in our pocket. So you want to get access to that, talk to us about that. There's some key things that you'll need to provide to your banker, talking about your current financial situation and talking about your export plan. And that is important. And then we will work closely with Exim Bank and with SBA to bring that in. And if we are a little bit uncomfortable with your current status, maybe you haven't been doing this for a while, maybe you don't have the strongest financial situation, great recession hit everyone. And one of the things I did want to say is the past couple of years going through the Great Recession, some of the companies that we've experienced as City National Bank that have been able to survive that or successfully navigate through this time period has been those with some export background.
Great, thank you. David, let me come back to you and ask you a little bit more about your medium-term program. I often get inquiries about manufacturers, equipment manufacturers, large ticket items like capital goods, typically priced at $500,000 or more. And they are often in need of providing, or their buyers are asking the exporter to provide them with financing. What kind of assistance can Exim, or programs that Exim has to assist this exporter?
Sure. I've tried unsuccessfully for 13 years to rename the medium-term program to customer finance, Because that's what it is. If you go to a major exporter in this country, they have a customer finance department. And so the medium term, as we term it, program is for, it's for capital goods, capital equipment exports, normally into emerging economies, but sometimes it's available even for developed economies, depending on financial liquidity. And the terms of the loans are anywhere from a year to 5, 6, 7 years, and depending on the equipment, up to 10 years. And what it is a guarantee from the federal government for 100% of the principal and interest repayment risk to the lender. So it does, as Martin mentioned, it does need a commercial lender. We are a guarantor. However, the lender's going to get a 100% guarantee from the U.S. government. The funds are dispersed direct to the exporter when he ships the equipment. So it's the exporter's cashed out at shipment, and then the borrower repays over the term, whether it's 5 or 6 years.
Great, and I think, Martin, does the SBA have something similar? And if so, what would be the main difference?
No, not exactly. We do not have a product through our SBA International Trade Division to compete with the medium term, as Dave suggested. We don't. Our agency doesn't have a program to provide buyer financing, but we do have a short-term working capital guarantee assistance program to provide financing support to the U.S. exporter for short-term financing needs, generally up to a maximum 12-month maturity, short-term working capital financing to the U.S. exporter, collateralized by the export sales contract, to provide the exporter with financing to cover their costs associated with performing on that short-term sales or funds for acquisition of raw materials, pay for labor, inventory, shipping costs, supplies, specifically to perform on the short-term contract.
Great. Don, so I have been sparking for many, many years, and in addition to working capital, I really need to find better ways to mitigate repayment terms or payment terms. How can the bank or my banker help me with that?
That's a good question, Susana. One of the things that is most difficult when you're dealing internationally, you're selling some goods, you want to get paid for those goods. And as bankers, we have kind of a quiver of various banking products and tools that can help you. But most exporters, they start off when they're exporting and they say, well, I'm going to do business overseas. I want to get that money in my pocket first. I want cash in advance. I want at least a down payment or part of that. So if you've got smaller transactions, if you've got business overseas that you started working on, maybe the way that you do your exports initially is to start working with cash in advance. But you're quickly going to run into problems of your customers overseas are not going to have or want to send over that money before you've shipped your goods. And obviously, in most cases, unless you know your customer quite well, you've been dealing with them for a while, you don't want to send your goods over and then hope that once they arrive, your customer's going to be satisfied and he's promised to pay you in 15 or 30 days. You're waiting there. Is that wire coming in? Is that payment coming in? So the banks do offer a couple products. Many of you've heard about letters of credit. There's also documentary collections. Both of these instruments that banks offer have a lot of legs to them, that a lot of variety. You can do time letters of credit. You can use letters of credit for financing. When we work with Exim Bank, one of the things that we look at is there the source of repayment? And a letter of credit is a way that we then proceed to get you working capital maybe up front. So using the various bank financing tools that they have available helps you, helps us work with our government agencies also in getting you financing. So circling back, make sure you get your banker involved right away, because there's complexities to this that with your banker, things will run very smoothly. If you started out and think, I've heard of this, I'll just add going to run into problems. So bring your advisors in at the front, and that'll help you out a lot.
Great. Sounds like we're running out of time, but I want to remind everybody that all of us are going to be available throughout the day if you have any specific questions. There are obviously more into these programs, including eligibility and different types of working capital guarantee programs available to you. So please